Oh, I have a lot better feel for it after about 5 or 6 days of practice, but I thought they made a lot of improvement from day one of spring practice to the last day of spring ball. And I think they want to be good, and I think their attitude's really good. And as long as the attitude stays the same and they want to be good, they'll get better as we go.
You've had to coach against Lindley, I guess, in practice and in games. What do you like about Lindley as a quarterback?
I think he's well, obviously he's tall enough that he can see over things and get a clear view of what's going on. He's very accurate with the football. He's good at feeling pressure where it's coming from and can slide and find an opening in the a passing lane. I think he's really good at that. Now you'd have to ask, and I'm sure Al was in here before me. You'd have to ask him on how much he picks up of the offense and all that, because I don't get into that. Speaking from last year, I thought he was at a huge disadvantage because they couldn't run the ball. If an offense can't run the ball, the quarterback's got no chance. Now, I do know we have some really good wide receivers on this football team because I've seen them in practice too. And Ryan can throw it to him, and he can get it to him, and he's going to have it on target, and they can catch it and run with it. But unless we can run the ball fairly well, he's not going to have a real long time to find those guys to throw it to those guys. And so I thought he was at a disadvantage last year because he was under so much pressure.
And as a coach, you kind of leave on that? I mean, you see that they can't run the ball, or you send the house on them?
Well, I would say most defensive coordinators, I'm not talking about me now, because most defensive coordinators, if you have struggle running the ball, it makes it pretty easy to rush the passer.
Yeah, obviously you have that relationship there with Bronco. He talked a little bit about Vegas a couple weeks ago about coming here. And he just kept mentioning the word tough over and over again. And is that the real priority in terms of this defense, is improving toughness here?
I'm not going to comment on their toughness because I have yet to see it in live action. I base everything on defense on how hard they want to play. And that means everybody gets to the ball every time. And so we first thing we teach is effort. First thing we coach is effort. And it's funny, if there's 5 or 6 guys on a tackle, how much tougher your team is viewed, what the perception of your team is. If it's a one-on-one tackle all the time, the perception of your team is opposite of that. So it really doesn't have a lot to do with toughness. If you're hitting a ball carrier with 5 guys instead of 1 guy, all of a sudden your team is considered to be tough. So we coach effort first.
Why do you think last year opposing offenses were able to put such big numbers up on the SDSU defense?
I don't have any idea. I wasn't here. I don't know the situation. I know they had a lot of injury problems. I know that, but I didn't watch the film other than to view the athletic ability of the players coming back. I don't know anything about the scheme that was run last year. I don't know anything about how it was coached last year. So it'd be ridiculous for me to make a comment on what the problem was last year, other than I know they had some injury problems.
8 months and 9 months later, does this still feel like a good fit for you?
Right now, we haven't lost a game. It feels like a great fit. The only thing I'm yet to see how this works is how the head coach can be your defensive line coach. And so far, all that's been fine. But we haven't been in the season yet either. So, that's a new situation for me. So that'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Do you have any leeway to change defensive line coaches?
Well, I don't. Let me put it. I got to be careful on how I put this. I don't have any leeway whatsoever on who the D-line coach is. The head coach hires all the coaches, and he fires all the coaches if he doesn't like them. That's his prerogative. That's his choice. That's what head coaches do. Do I have the ability to critique our D-line coach? I have yet to see if that's true or not. Defense coordinators most of the time do. I don't know if that's going to work or not. We'll find out.
You spent 10 years in the Mountain West Conference. Why'd you come back to another Mountain West school?
When I left my former school, I knew I wanted to continue coaching, and it was more important to me to be in a situation where I felt like I could coach the way I wanted to, coach the scheme I wanted to coach, and where I felt comfortable with the situation. And Coach Hoke and I have a very good relationship. We've been friends for a real long time, and him and I believe exactly the same thing in defense. So it was the fit that mattered the most.
How competitive is it going to be at that linebacker spot? I mean, it's great to have numbers like that. How's that going to shake out?
By far, that's the best position on our defense. There's quality players there. There's quality players with experience, and there's a lot of depth. I'm not real smart, but if you have a lot of good players in one position, you play them all. You don't make them compete to see who's the starter, and then the starter stays in there the whole time. If you have two players in the same position that have equal ability or close to equal ability, you play them, and it benefits both of them because they're competing constantly with each other for playing time all year long. Plus, they never get tired. They stay fresh, and they play harder and play better. So if what we think is true, if we've got 5 or 6 linebackers that can play for anybody in this league, which I think we do, you'll see them in there. If we have 60 plays on defense, they'll probably each have 30. And linebacker is a particular spot that goes to special teams too. That allows them to be really good on special teams and be fresh on special teams and all that. So you have good players on special teams also. That's not I'd like to have that problem at every position.
Anything else for Coach?
What do you enjoy over being a defensive coordinator compared to being a head coach?
Head coaches have a lot of other things to do besides coaching. Defensive coordinators get to coach. Not that head coaches don't get to coach. They make a lot of important decisions, especially on game day. They don't get to spend near as much time in the film room. They don't get to spend near as much time with the players. And contrary to a popular opinion at the college level, 90% of the coaches, my belief is 90% of the coaches, the reason you got into coaching is to be with players and develop players on and off the field. And head coaches have a real hard time spending as much time with the players. Usually the players they spend the time with are the ones that have done something not according to plan. So it's a lot more fun. You don't get paid as good, but it's a lot more fun.
Coach, besides points, how are you going to measure this defense in terms of, halfway through the year if they're getting to be where you want them to be?
I'm different than a lot of defense coordinators. A lot of defense coordinator has goals. How many yards they're going to give up rushing, how many they're going to give up passing, points against, turnovers, all that baloney, and that's how they judge how good the defense is. I have one goal, and it doesn't matter how good the defense is, it's winning. If we win, we've done what we're supposed to do on defense. And if that means our offense scores 70 points, I'm still going. Now, Monday I won't be real happy, but on Saturday night I'll still be happy.